call to order the January 23rd public meeting. Mr. Jones, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Barbean, Ms. Bauer, Mrs. Boroff.
Here.
Ms. Brody.
Here.
Dr. Kolakowski.
Here.
Ms. Sirianni.
Here.
Ms. Winkler.
Here.
Ms. Williams. Mr. Murray.
Here. Quorum is present. I ask you to please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Executive session report. We went through personnel, HIB, suspension and detention, and our legal status report. No additions to the agenda this evening. I'm going to move over to the superintendent's report. Dr. Mast.
Recognizing that we have an audience tonight and understanding that you are here for a reason, we are going to just slightly restructure the format of our meeting. Usually we have two sessions of public comments, one in the beginning of the meeting and one at the end of the meeting for 15 minutes. And since you are here for us to listen, we are going to have those public comments combined in the beginning of the meeting. And Mr. Silvestro is just going to lay down the way that will be organized for us.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Mast. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm sure some of you are regulars at our board meetings. A lot of you probably the first time coming to one of these meetings. So I'm just going to spend a couple minutes talking about how public comment works at a Board of Education meeting. So, first and foremost, it is public comment. It is not public Q&A. There's a statement in the agenda that the board president usually reads as we go to start the public comment period. That explains that a little bit more. Public comment is an opportunity for the board to hear from you as the public. It is not a town hall question and answer kind of session. The board will not be responding to questions. So if you come to the mic and you have your 3 minutes time for speaking and you have a question and you're staring at the board waiting for a response, you're not going to receive one. Just let you know that that's the process. The board is, as Dr. Mast said, combining the two public comment periods. Usually they are 15 minutes each. That's total for each public comment period into one, so that we can have everyone all at once, not have to wait till the end of the meeting, which is usually when non-agenda items are spoken about. In terms of the topics for public comment, it is public comment. It is open to anyone. We do ask that people who have comments on the agenda be allowed to speak first. So if you have something that is actually on the physical agenda for voting tonight, that you come up to the mic first to speak. And that's because these are items that the board is voting on, that if you have a comment about those items, the board would want to hear that before voting. Again, normally we reserve comments on matters that aren't on the agenda until the end of the meeting. We are moving that up. If you are unable to speak today because of the 30-minute time limit, or if you feel that you can't get everything you need to say in the 3 minutes, or just at the end of the meeting you go home tonight and you think of something that you wanted to say but didn't have the chance to, the board does check their emails. That in terms of comments at the board meeting, this is not the only way to reach the board. Again, the Board of Education, I'm not going to give a whole lesson as to their limits and of their authority, but they're not going to be personally writing back or personally responding to this meeting. They're ethically not allowed to. In terms of topics for tonight, again, comments from the public are one thing. The board is legally prohibited from engaging on a number of items, student matters, personnel items. In terms of personnel, I'm sure that a lot of you are here about a personnel issue. There's a teacher that works for the district who was given notice that there might be discussion regarding her employment. She has waived her legal right to have that discussion happen in executive session. Kathy O'Gara, a teacher in the district, has exercised her legal right to compel any discussion about her employment in open. But to the extent that any of you, based on things that were shared on social media, things you've heard about third or fourth hand, are here tonight to talk about Ms. O'Gara having been or to be suspended from school, or that is facing termination, that I'm sorry that you've been misinformed. Ms. O'Gara has not been suspended. There's nothing on the agenda tonight to suspend, terminate, or otherwise discipline Ms. O'Gara on the agenda tonight. There's going to be no discussion from the board about any such action against Ms. O'Gara tonight. So to the extent that that is, you're here, if you're for or against those actions are not pending before this Board of Education. You can still say whatever comments you came to say, but to the extent that you were under the belief that Ms. O'Gara has been suspended, or is facing suspension, or is facing termination, that is not true. In terms of proceeding, again, we'll move ahead with the rest of the agenda. After the 30 minutes for public comment have ended, we will take a brief recess, just so those of you who came here just for public comment, you don't have to feel like you need to stay. You are all certainly welcome to stay for the rest of the board meeting. It is a public meeting, but we're going to have the public comment right up front, and then after that, the board's just going to move ahead with its regular business. Dr. Master, I think I covered everything.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so in accordance with Scottsbluff's Family Public Bylaws 0164 and 0165, this meeting will be open for 30 minutes for public comments, maximum 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers addressing superintendent items, board functions, and other board business will be heard first. If time remains, speakers may address other matters. Speakers, when you come to the mic, please state your full name and the town in which you reside. Please note, boards use the public comment period as an opportunity to listen to citizen concerns, but not to debate issues or enter into a question and answer session or a cross-examination between the public and the individual member. Be aware that not all issues brought before the board will be resolved that evening. Boards may respond to public comment by seeking additional information or by delegating the authority to investigate the issue to the superintendent or her designee. With that, Mr. Silvestro, I will now open the first and only public comment section for 30 minutes. So if you have a comment, please come to the microphone, state your name and the town in which you reside.
Brian Herman, Scotch Plains. Today marks the 9th anniversary of my grandmother's death. She was a secular Jew to the point that she thought that as long as she served ham on matzah and didn't use bread, that she would still be keeping kosher for Passover. As secular as she was, one thing I can tell you is that she would be beyond appalled that on the 9th anniversary of her death, I am standing here at a Board of Education meeting to discuss anti-Semitism exhibited by a faculty member of the school that her youngest grandchild is attending. As a district, it appears that only some races, religions, and ethnicities are protected and recognized in the DEI initiatives. There were mostly crickets during Asian and Jewish American Heritage Month back in May. Both apply to my children. My 12-year-old daughter has been mocked for being Jewish and was told that she better not wear a yarmulke to school or else. And she has also been called anti-Asian slurs such as ching chong by multiple peers. What year are we in? I went to school in the 1980s, and that was a term used then. More nasty commentary by the Evergreen teacher has been spewed since the last time that the board was made aware. Two of which are, here we go again, I'm getting threats, Zionists will use any tactics possible to silence. And, I'm more in the action phase. Apparently sent the alert out about the Israeli IOF, not a typo by the way, terrorists coming to Westfield. Apparently organized a counter. I know there is some literature posted around claims that she only warned her neighbors about the IDF soldier coming to town. She didn't warn, she alerted, it's there for all to see. That is a significant difference. This teacher has a right to her opinion and has a right to express her opinion. She crosses the line when she tracks parents and supports those who suggest taking screenshots of parents' names and tracking other parents. I also want to call it to your attention that Section 3230 of the District Policy, Item 1, states that teaching staff members are advised to refrain from conduct, associations, and offensive speech that, if given publicity, would tend to have an adverse or harmful effect upon pupils or the school community. Outright condemning and maligning 90% of the Jewish population, which is the percentage of the Jewish population that are Zionists, and boasting about organizing a protest in a synagogue that many from our community attend, would indeed have an adverse or harmful effect upon pupils or the school community. Even if you want to continue to make excuses for the incitement of a potentially, thank goodness it wasn't, violent protest at a synagogue, please note that publicly and privately making threats against parents also clearly would have a harmful effect upon pupils or the school community. These threats were serious. There are parents whose names were posted, tracked, lawyers got involved, and there are police reports filed. This is clearly a harmful effect upon schools or the school community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Deborah Bloom, Scotch Plains, and I'm not going to speak to say about the issue that I think most people are here for.
Lower the mic a little bit closer to you.
Sure. I just want to put a little context on what's happening tonight. I'm an attorney. I do research and writing for NGU Hate. We send a lot of those click and send letters that you receive in large quantities. And I deal with anti-Semitism and terrorism, which is kind of related in some respects, almost 7 days a week. That's my full-time job. I do it at night, I do it on the weekends. And I want to just put a few things in context. I'm here because I read, in first part, I read about online, there were a bunch of groups that were being promoted by 2 different groups that I've researched and written about. One of them is CAIR, C-A-I-R, and the other one is Teaching While Muslim. I've researched both of those, written several letters, and I just want to give you some background about what's going on in context. CAIR is an offshoot of the Muslim Brotherhood. I would appreciate deference and respect. CAIR is an offshoot of the Muslim Brotherhood. They were created at what was called the Philadelphia Meeting in 1993, when CAIR, Hamas, and IAP, one of the almost indicted co-conspirators in the Holy Land terror finance trial, and that was the day that CAIR was created. They have since resumed. Over the years, the United States disavowed any connection to CAIR shortly after 10/7, when the chair of CAIR made anti-Semitic remarks at a national conference. The FBI also distanced itself many years ago from CAIR. Teaching While Muslim, I also had the opportunity, unfortunately, to write about and research as well, and they also promoted people to come here tonight. And that was started by a Perth Amboy social studies teacher, who I think is still working in the school district. And she or her company, her organization, is a supposed educational institution, and they promote propaganda demonizing, delegitimizing Israel and Jews. You can go on their website, twm.org, and you can see for yourself, it's all right there. I want to just talk about free speech. I write about and research free speech a lot. Free speech is an absolute. There's a balance, and for sure under the law and in your policies, there's a balancing when it harasses, discriminates, or disrupts. And so it's not absolute. And what's been happening, and what I tend to write about, is that the free speech is being used as a pretext. Pro-Palestinian advocacy is being used under the guise of free speech. When you take a harder look,
So, Ms. Luke, that is your 3 minutes. If you have other thoughts you'd like to share, let me know. You take it back.
Hi, I'm here in support of Kathy.
Sorry, can you please state your name and the town in which you reside, please?
Sure. My name is Carrie, and I'm from Maplewood, New Jersey. I'm here in support of Kathy O'Gara. First of all, it does not appear that your district has followed protocols for a fair and transparent investigation. If you had, you would be upholding her free speech rights and applauding her moral fortitude for being concerned about a soldier who participated in genocide, was in our area to speak, and to justify that genocide. Kathy is exactly the type of teacher and community member we require in these times, and one I would want for my children. Genocide is wrong. There is no justification for it. Multiple respected human
Folks, let her speak, please.
Multiple respected human rights orgs, international courts, and top genocide and Holocaust scholars have said what is happening in Gaza.
I did pause your timer, so you're not losing Folks, if you interrupt the speakers, number one, we're going to be here a lot longer. Number two, we will ask you to be removed. We will ask you to be removed. Please do not interrupt the speakers. I'm going to restart your clock. Feel free to continue. Start it again. I paused it.
Folks, everybody listen, please. This is the public quorum. If you're not going to follow the rules, you're going to be asked to leave. Everyone has a right to speak that's at the mic. This is a public comment section. If you're going to be disruptive, you're going to be asked to be removed from the auditorium. Please respect the speakers. Thank you.
Genocide is wrong. There is no justification for it. Multiple respected human rights orbs, international courts, top genocide and Holocaust scholars has said what is happening in Gaza is a genocide. We can also see it with our own eyes, the devastation and horror. There has been a systematic obliteration of the school system, healthcare, and infrastructure in Gaza. Half the population of Gaza is under the age of 18. Students in Gaza have had no access to school for 15 months. 85% of the schools have been damaged. All 12 universities have been bombed. Genocide is not a Jewish value. And speaking out against genocide and apartheid of the Palestinian people is not anti-Semitic. Zionism is not Judaism. In fact, most Zionists in the U.S. are Christian, by far. And their support, look it up, Kufi, by their support, and is based on bringing about Armageddon and the second coming of Christ. This type of extremist ideology is exactly why we have separation of church and state. If you wondered what you would have done during slavery, the civil rights movement, you are doing it right now. Please don't be reactionary to rumors of people seeking to silence pro-Palestine voices. They do this to frighten people into compliance because they have absolutely no moral leg to stand on.
Mostly incorrect and false.
Again, only the people with the mic, please, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Beth Lewis, and I'm a resident of Scotch Plains. City officer, he's cursing at me. Can you please take care of him? He's been cursing, harassing everybody on this line. I really appreciate you to stand here. This is the person right here.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I heard you.
Can you please stand here?
Just say Jew. Just say Jew.
No, just one. Okay, good evening. My name is Beth Lewis, and I'm a resident of Scotch Plains and a proud parent of 2 children in the district, with my youngest attending Evergreen Elementary. Since moving here in 2020, my husband and I have been deeply impressed by the dedication, kindness, and professionalism of the teaching staff and administration. Beyond academic excellence, the educators in our district have significantly contributed to the confidence and self-esteem of our children, which we are truly grateful for. This is my first time attending a Board of Education meeting, and it's not easy to be here tonight. I feel compelled to raise significant concerns about an educator in our district, Kathy O'Gara, and her public conduct regarding sensitive topics. First, I want to be clear this is not about judging anyone's personal beliefs. I respect differing viewpoints and value constructive dialogue on sensitive issues. However, Ms. O'Gara's public statements have been inflammatory, laden with vitriol, and in the opinion of many, bordering on hate speech. As a community, we must hold educators to the highest standards of professionalism, especially in their interactions with students and their broader community. On November 21st, 2023, at a Westfield Board of Education meeting, Ms. O'Gara recounted a conversation she had with a 9th grade student who asked why genocides other than the Holocaust are not covered in the curriculum. Rather than providing an objective or constructive response, Ms. O'Gara admitted on camera to sharing her personal beliefs with that student. She stated that she responded, "I don't know," and then in a hostile tone continued to assert that she had been wrong to believe the term "never again" applied to everyone rather than to a single group. Her remarks not only reflected her personal biases, but also disparaged the curriculum, implying that it prioritizes Jewish history at the expense of other groups, which fosters a divisive and harmful narrative. This raises serious concerns about the appropriateness of sharing personal and controversial views with impressionable students. Educators have a duty to create an unbiased, respectful learning environment, and this admission shows a breach of that responsibility. Furthermore, Ms. O'Gara went on to question how a militant group of parents have influenced the curriculum, specifically referencing the Holocaust education. Was this group she referenced made up of Jewish parents? Such a statement feels targeted and entirely inappropriate. She also implied that Holocaust education in the schools is inaccurate by stating that her daughter, who now or then attended Boston University, was now learning the true history. The true history. This cast doubt on her support for the current curriculum and disrespectfully undermines the lived experiences and historical truths of many in our community. At the December 19th, 2023 meeting, Ms. O'Gara made further remarks about the Middle East conflict, concluding her statements with, "I've read that from the river to the sea..."
Ms. Lewis, I'm sorry, that is your time. If you'd like to send the rest of your statement to the board.
Yes, I can.
Hello. Good evening, my name is Jane, and I am from Scotch Plains. I last spoke to the board in June about my concerns for the safety and inclusion of Jewish families in this district. I came here because my emails were ignored, and unfortunately, I'm standing here again because with the same frustrations, don't take pictures of me, no meaningful follow-up from the district. Perhaps the superintendent and board thinks these concerns are isolated to me, but I assure you they are not. We, the Jewish families of this district, will not stand by as incidents of anti-Semitism go unaddressed. We see what's happening in schools, and we refuse to let this community become a statistic. Sadly, New Jersey has already seen the third largest rise in anti-Semitic incidents nationwide. As a member of the Chabad community, I have seen and felt these fears firsthand. Some of you may be aware that an incident occurred where agitators disrupted a private event at a Chabad house, a place of worship where children from our community were present. This protest was not about dialogue or expressing a difference of opinion. It was a deliberate attempt to intimidate and create fear in a sacred space. Imagine if I or my children had been there. Imagine if you or your children were there. The fear that Jewish parents feel when we are left to wonder if our visible Jewish identity, a name, a piece of jewelry, will make us a target in this community. We cannot ignore how acts like this undermine our ability to feel safe. The district has a duty to ensure that every child, regardless of their background, feels safe and supported. Yet, when I raise these concerns, my emails are met with silence, over and over again. How can I trust this district will take meaningful steps to protect my children when there is no acknowledgement, no communication, and no visible action to address anti-Semitism in our schools and community? This is not about individual employees or isolated incidents. It's about creating a culture where anti-Semitism is actively recognized and condemned. I brought up numerous incidents in the past, a school presentation where Israel was crossed off a map, swastikas appearing in schools, and a divisive book for teachers to read. I met with you, Dr. Mast, and left very hopeful that things would change, but not a thing has. The district's inaction sends a message, whether intentional or not, that anti-Semitism is not a priority for you guys. I'm here to tell you that it must become one. Jewish families in this district deserve to feel safe and respected, not just in words, but in your actions. On behalf of SPS Jewish families, I must also say the district's email response to recent events were disappointing. While I understand the need to respect diverse perspectives, there is a clear line between free expression and actions designed to intimidate, and incite fear. That line was crossed when a peaceful pro-Israel event was disrupted by a counter-protest clearly intended to create chaos and fear in a house of worship. This is not just about one event, it's about the broader environment our children are growing up in. As parents, it's our job to protect them outside of school. It is your job to ensure the safety inside the school. This includes addressing anti-Semitism within our community. So I'm asking on the record for a meeting and a response to my emails, because it's been a year. I want to see clear policies and actions from the district that address anti-Semitism head-on. Let me be clear, this is not about political opinions or beliefs. This is about safety, inclusion, and the basic human rights to feel secure in our schools, in our basic work.
That is your time.
Yes, hi, my name is Ann. I've been a resident of Scotch Plains for 12 years. So I have two daughters in the school system. My daughter, when she was in second grade, she had, we call her Miss O'Gara, Kathy. And so my daughter, we moved from another town, and the standards in Scotch Plains were a little bit higher. I mean, my daughter was a great student, but she struggled with reading. And so Miss O'Gara was assigned to her to help her with reading. Do you know that Miss O'Gara, I mean, I love her. Like, she took my daughter and literally made her a reader. Made her to love, like, really helped her to love reading. Now my daughter is a senior, and my daughter got into Emerson College in Boston. Like, I'm so proud of that girl. And, you know, many parents know. They know it's the elementary teachers. Now, I'm here, and I'm in a group called If Not Now, Central Jersey, and Jewish Voice for Peace in Central Jersey. And so I'm in solidarity with the Jewish community, but I'm anti-Zionist. And there are many anti-Zionist Jewish people out there. So, now I'd like to say that I come from a background of Christian Zionism. That's how I was raised. I didn't know I was a Zionist until after October 7th. My eyes have been opened, I woke up, and you know, not everybody's like okay with that, but we have to respect others' opinions and understand that you can be a good educator, you can be a great nurse. I'm a nurse. I work in an agency that if they fired me for my personal views, like all my patients, like I go into like the buildings, the Jewish buildings that are in like all over the place. Like I have so many Jewish patients. I have Holocaust patients that were in the Holocaust and they're like late 90s. They respect me if they and they're used to me. Like if I got fired, that would affect them. So what I'm trying to say, I don't know, you know, I heard the testimonies, but when I think of Miss O'Gara, if this is her personal thing, okay, and she's done this on the side and it's outside of school, that's her freedom of speech. She should not be fired over that. I know you said she's not going to be, but whatever. You know, suspended, vilified. She's being vilified. I know everybody's talking back there and saying she's not, but she's being vilified. I heard it. You guys did vilify her. You know, maybe you have different opinions, you know, but like when you call her an anti-Semite, we're not anti-Semites when we're standing up against a genocide. Maybe you don't believe it's a genocide, but it's been actually documented. There's been Jewish, like, people in Israel that have documented this, and I really believe you guys need to look that up. Okay, that's facts. So, my view is focused on Miss O'Gara. We love her, okay? And I'm here to stand up for her. Okay, I have that personal experience with my daughter.
Man, that is your time.
Thank you.
Malik Saada, I live in Elizabeth. So when I first met Ms. O'Gara, we were actually at the Westfield Board of Education meeting that was referenced earlier. And in that meeting, I approached where she was because she was basically surrounded with a bunch of Zionists who were vilifying her, who were bullying her. Just a lady there, minding her.
Sir, please, again, please do not call out from the public.
Can you pause it? All right. So again, the Zionists that always love yapping and calling out, they're the same types of people that were there too. All she did is denounce genocide, and oftentimes when she talks about it, she states that she has no problem with Judaism, she has no problem with Jews. The issue is with people who support Zionism, people who support genocide, people like the ones on my left, who actively support the murders of over 200,000 Palestinians, which is still going on today. It's still going on right now. And we're here talking about a teacher who is against it. This is ridiculous. Now keep in mind. Sir.
This is inappropriate. Sit down, respect your people's time. Sit down.
Speak without speaking. Why are you speaking now?
Talk to them.
I'll speak when I want to. Just listen what he's saying. I am listening. No,
You're not. You're being rude.
All right, you gotta kick that guy out. It's been a bit.
Folks, calling out people for yelling by yelling from the public is not helping the matters. So if we can all please just focus and allow the people at the microphone to speak.
Great. So I'll continue. These genocide supporters love calling out and love trying to bully someone who is against the murder of Palestinians. What does this mean? This means that they're full of racists. We're not against a teacher who's calling out genocide. We should be against racism and calling it out here. Now keep in mind, when the ADL, which is supposed to be for Jewish safety, you have Elon Musk, a proud Zionist by the way, show a put the Nazi salute. What happens? Nothing, right? They deny it because he's a Zionist and they are more aligned with Nazism than they want us to believe. And Ms. O'Gara is on the right side of history. She's morally right, and she's a great role model for all the students. And when I met her, she was standing there alone, steadfast against a cesspool of racism and bullying. That's it.
Hi. I'm Rabbi Klosowski, resident of Scotch Plains, proud resident. My synagogue, the Chabad in Scotch Plains, serves the local community. I'm honored and privileged to have a child in the Scotch Plains school system and very appreciative of the services you provide for her. Us Americans were blessed with a Constitution and Bill of Rights that protects every individual and highlights our nation's deep respect for the value of every single life. Hamas, designated by U.S. State Department as a terrorist organization, has a charter that explicitly calls for the killing of every Jew in Israel. This ideology is not abstract. Tragically, they acted on this intent on October 7, 2023, in a horrific attack. The charter further explicitly calls for the annihilation of all Jewish people. Their intention is to kill me, every Jew in this room, every Jew in the school district, every Jew in this zip code, and every Jew across the entire world, God forbid. Do we want a teacher who supports Hamas? Someone who espouses the values of Hamas, teaching our children? Do we want those evil values taught to our kids? However, it's much worse than that. This individual rallied fellow Hamas supporters not merely to demonstrate outside a local synagogue, but to go inside, disrupt the event, and intimidate and bully those attending. That's criminal. They don't belong in our school system. They don't belong teaching our kids. They don't belong teaching my daughter. To my fellow local Jewish residents, the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, remember this. Those who have risen against us throughout history, we have a long 3,300-year history, now lie in the dustbin of history. Yet, we remain strong, we remain resilient, we remain proud. Am Yisrael Chai. Allah Yahmi Israel, Allah Yahmi Al Yehud.
Yeah, if you could state your name and address for the town which you reside, please.
Good evening. My name is Jessica, and I reside in Scotch Plains.
Thank you.
I come to you tonight as a concerned parent of our community. After hearing about the recent stage protest at the Chabad Center of Westfield, I was of course alarmed. To later find out that a district staff member took credit for organizing this protest and praised these protesters as brave individuals all over social media, I became increasingly concerned and curious to the safety protocols in place and what our school district is doing to ensure that all children feel safe and supported within their school environment, which is their right. I absolutely believe in freedom of speech and that everyone is entitled to their own opinions and beliefs. I might not agree with them and they might not agree with mine, but that's what we're entitled to. Now, where I struggle is when it comes to promoting these beliefs against a particular group of people publicly all over social media. When a staff member is posting anti-Zionist posts on multiple Facebook pages, to me, that is hate speech. To be clear, a key distinction between anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism is criticizing a specific policy or action versus a country's right to exist and a people's group to self-determination. Stripping that right from Jews, singled out from all other people in the world, is anti-Semitic. When you choose to pursue certain career paths, there are codes of conduct that must be adhered to. As a teacher myself, I know my Facebook page is very private, and particularly important when your job is shaping young, impressionable minds. I want to be clear here today that my goal of speaking up is not for anyone to be fired for their opinion, although I might very strongly disagree with it. My purpose is to understand what you, as the Board of Education, the Superintendent, and the school district, are doing to ensure that these views are kept out of our classroom and off outlets on social media that can be viewed publicly by both parents and students. What are you doing to keep our children safe?
Hello, my name is Catherine. I'm from Berkeley Heights, New Jersey. I am a member of an organization called the Anti-Zionist Minyan. We are a Jewish organization that speaks out against Israel. We believe that Israel is not Judaism. Israel is not Jews. Zionism is not Judaism. The suppression of pro-Palestinian voices does not protect Jews. Speaking out against genocide does not harm Jews. And speaking out against genocide is not anti-Semitism. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Nancy, and I'm from Fanwood. It's been exhausting just being here. I'm so tired of the divisiveness and the anger and the frustration that our community has shown. And even though as a Palestinian, I'm suffering on a daily basis because I'm watching on my screens while my cousins, aunts, and uncles are being buried alive, I have to come here and defend myself. I have to come here and defend myself that we deserve not to be killed indiscriminately, and we have to defend ourselves and tell everybody that, hey, yeah, it is a genocide, guys, because I'm seeing it and I'm talking to my family overseas. So I just want to say that I'm here as a Palestinian, but I'm also here as a representative of a growing community, visible here tonight, that has been silenced, defamed, harassed, and marginalized for the past 15 months. I'm here to voice our collective pain, disappointment, but hope for justice. The recent actions taken against Ms. O'Gara has shown us a stark reminder of the injustices we face within our own institutions. Ms. O'Gara has been unfairly criminalized for advocating on the behalf of people who has endured what many are calling a genocide. And you can fact check me, anybody here can do that. By conservative estimates, 55,000 Palestinian lives have been taken. 16,750 of those are children, including 1,300 infants and toddlers under the age of 2. Fact check me, everybody who's talking behind me, you guys know how to fact check. Children in Gaza now have the highest rates of amputations in history. Oxfam revealed that more women and children have been killed by Israeli military in the past year than in any other conflict in the last 2 decades. I mean, that's staggering numbers. UNICEF has declared Gaza the most dangerous place in the world for children. And so, when Ms. O'Gara is objecting to this, it's a direct response to these atrocities. She's simply speaking out against the violence, the human rights violations, and the devastating impact on children, and nothing more. This attack is an attack on all of us. It deepens the wounds of trauma and the devastation that our community has endured over the past 15 months. We're facing an unimaginable level of suffering, one that is exasperated by the fact that the voices of Zionists are always prioritized over those of Palestinians. Over 15 months, Ms. O'Gara has been villainized, facing relentless opposition, defamation, harassment, and threats to her livelihood. And instead of upholding the principles of free speech, I believe that the board has chosen to retaliate against her.
I'm sorry, that's your time. If you have more to say, you can
Thank you.
on board. To the public, with the 30-minute time limit, we are not going to be able to finish the line of speakers. However, consulted with the board president, the line as it stands now, so don't feel like you need to get up and rush, because I see who's the last in line. We are going to get to everybody that is currently in line, which will put us past the 30-minute timeline we agreed on, but we're going to finish this line so everyone who's standing now can have a chance to speak. So if you haven't gotten in line, I'm sorry, but as I said earlier, if you think of something later that you want to say, you can email the board. We're going to finish the line, everybody with still the 3-minute cap, and then we're going to proceed with the rest of the meeting. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Fatima, and I'm from Clark. I just wanted to ask, just say that, you know, there are a multitude of students in your schools, both Jewish and non-Jewish, and I want to ask you, if you have a Palestinian student in your schools, how do you think they're going to feel when the board or the administration takes these kinds of actions against a teacher who's speaking out on their behalf in their private life? It doesn't make them feel safe. It doesn't make them feel seen. I went to school in Union County. I grew up here. I was born here. And the dehumanization is not something we're unaware of. It's something we experience on a daily basis. I've been through medical school. I've gone through all that, and I've experienced it on a daily basis as a Palestinian. And I think that when we look at these actions that we're taking, we have to look at how it's going to affect all parties. And it's not right to tell students that if they talk about their grief, about people they've lost, or that what's going on in their country, people dying on a daily basis, children, amputees, you know, that we have family that are dying on a daily basis, and we have to experience that grief. And in school should be a safe place for everybody, not just for, you know, Jewish children, but Muslim children, Palestinian children, all children. And it needs to be a safe space. And if we're going to sit there targeting people's political beliefs and their agendas, so if someone's a Trump supporter or, you know, a Biden supporter, and we say, oh, well, they're Trump supporters, that's hate speech, they can't come to school. We don't target people. Why is it when it's a Palestinian issue, now we're targeting people? I think it's not right. Freedom of speech is a constitutional right, and there should be no, you know, it shouldn't matter what your political belief is, as long as you're not harming anybody. And being an anti-Zionist is not harmful. You don't wish death upon anybody. You just want rights for all, including Palestinians. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Diane. I'm from Garwood. I'm going to try to talk off the paper because, wow, this is not something I'm used to doing. And I'm actually extremely uncomfortable at the hate that I've been hearing as I've been in this line. So I'm going to go off my paper, and I'm just going to say I'm here to support Kathy O'Gara. I've gotten to know her over the past year because I have seen her solidarity with Palestinians and speaking truth to power in a time where, as I'm just hearing right now, I mean, the ugliness and the pain and the hurt that is being, I'm baffled. And I think what we need, and what the last two speakers did a really good job of, is saying we need healing, we need caring, we need understanding.
I'm Israel High.
Sorry. This is all very, very new to me, but I can tell you that Kathy O'Gara has a caring heart, I believe that everything I have seen in the past year is simply wanting peace and justice for the Palestinians that she has come in contact with in her day-to-day life. We should be raising voices up like Kathy O'Gara. Now I'm just going to try to skim through what I wrote. I hear people being just, off the hook, off the handle when they hear the word war crimes and genocide. Well, let me tell you, Amnesty International, they have a great report dated December 5th. They have concluded that Israel is committing genocide and war crimes. This is a 296-page report. Read it if you don't believe it. Read it and then come back here next meeting and show us how it is wrong that we stand here opposed to genocide and war crimes. Human Rights Watch, which is actually quite neoliberal of an entity. They're not radical. Human Rights Watch has a 154-page report dated November 14th of 2024. They have also made clear findings of war crimes and crimes against humanity. Please read the reports. This is the first time I've had to experience what I have heard and felt this evening. So I'm sorry, but I'm just going to end with the...
Ma'am, that is your time.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Just trying to figure out, I'm on a whole different topic. I don't know if I should allow this group to finish and then get back to our referendum. No, just now's the time. All right. Anthony Catalia, Fanwood, New Jersey. I attended the last session, and I appreciate every one of you really spending the time and energy with the back and forth. That was phenomenal. And I do recall a couple of conversations. One gentleman was a little agitated and went into a discussion saying we didn't negotiate, and the response was we did get a viable appraisal, and that's what we utilized to negotiate. He also mentioned about the landlord, and it was the same landlord that we're actually leasing space from on South Avenue. And I do know there was another gentleman, it was actually you, saying, could we release ourselves from that opportunity to move individuals, be it the Board of Ed, into the new school if it comes about. Seeing that there is still a big fraction of voters out there going back and forth, possibly is there an opportunity for us, be it Mr. Jones, to go to the landlord and say, if this initiative were to pass, can we get release at some date in the nearer future to bring the Board of Education out of this building into the new school building and see if we can negotiate some sort of release, if it is in fact the same landlord is the seller as well as the building. Because obviously a $10.5 million benefit to them versus an annual lease. And that was my only thing. Because I figured if we could bring that to the taxpayers, we could get past a referendum, failing possibly for a second time, and we just want to find the common ground. And it seemed like people were looking at the lease situation as another little sticky point, saying, well, we're leasing one property, now we're going to buy another property over here. And I thought this was maybe some common ground we could just find and throw out there before Tuesday, that people could say, look, we are looking into this, we're going to try to negotiate, we're going to try to find the benefit for everybody here, and if we do acquire the new school, we'll try to bridge that. That was the only thing. That's why I just wanted to bring it to the table. I do apologize for stepping into this, but I do have to say something. The comments that I did hear here, I have to be honest. Living in Fanwood for now, my wife was born and raised since what then? She's 1970. And her family's been here for at least 40 years before that. I was born and raised in Boonton. I am shocked. Appalled in some ways. This is America. I've had 40 relatives fighting our wars. 40. 40 veterans in my families. I can't believe I'm standing here. It's appalling from both sides. I've heard nasty comments and stuff that I can't believe this is America. Really? And that I need to have an officer, armed, standing next to me. Let's all look in the mirror.
Mr. Vitale, that is your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, Jordy from Elizabeth. I'm a member of the Democratic Socialists of America, and I want to take a moment to express my support for Kathy as she's going through a very difficult time, as she is threatened and violated from her rights to express her constitutional right by the First Amendment, which, as a United States citizen, we must serve, protect, and defend that Constitution that was part of our nation, to express the right to speak, and a right to speak out against the atrocities of an apartheid state that unfortunately exists. It is a shame, as a Guatemalan myself, a country that was deprived and destroyed by the United States by supporting a dictator that committed genocide to indigenous people with the help of 300 Israeli advisors. And it's literally legit, you gotta look it up. And when I look back to genocide, whether it be from Guatemala and even the Holocaust or even Palestine right now, it exists. We're seeing in front of our eyes. Our taxpayer dollars are being used to bomb Palestinians and killing them. And we're also seeing Hasidic Jews being concerned about their lives. Some people even threaten to warn these people, we'd rather die than to go to war. And this is what I'm concerned about, these people. The people behind me, there are people who just want to defend the horrifying Israeli government who is committing these atrocious actions, many of which with our US dollars, and defending their heinous actions, all while suppressing the voices who are already being right in history and speaking truth to power. What Kathy is doing is speaking truth to power. What Kathy is doing is her right. What Kathy is doing is supporting the people and having empathy for these people. Yet, she doesn't deserve it. Her students love her. Remember that. She deserves to continue her job until she retires. But we need to keep fighting and defending her, but also respect her right to express the criticism of a foreign nation who goes against the will and the human condemnation of Palestinian people. Genocide exists in Palestine. It has always been for decades. It has happened in Rwanda. It has happened in years of generations, from Jews who were prosecuted in the Holocaust to indigenous peoples in America. We cannot ignore it. We must learn it in history, and we can never repeat it ever again. Thank you, and please remember, we must support each other.
Thank you. My name is Musa Naji from Newark. First and foremost, I just want to thank the board and the administrators, because this is one of the few districts that recognizes Eid al-Adha, which is the Islamic holiday, and actually gives the attention to Muslim parents, students, and teachers to be able to celebrate the Islamic holiday and raise awareness to the community of the presence of the Muslim community here. With that being said, it is really upsetting that we have to come here to defend Ms. O'Gara rather than come here to honor and celebrate Ms. O'Gara for her commitment, for her service to this district for the past several years. But instead, we are here to defend her against baseless accusations. We are here to have to remind the community of her First Amendment right that she is exercising. We are here to have to remind the community that the board shouldn't have to waste their time and resources on conducting investigations just to appease the community of what they believe to be wrong. We should be using our resources and time to ensure that the students in this district continue to receive the best education they can receive. With that being said, I am also here on behalf of CAIR New Jersey. That's CAIR, the Council on American Islamic Relations. And I really hope the person that mentioned CAIR is still here, because just to set it straight, CAIR is the nation's largest Muslim civil rights organization. It is the nation's largest organization and most trusted organization to protect the Muslim American community. But due to that person's Islamophobia, we are the Muslim Brotherhood. Instead of recognizing the work that this organization has done for the past 3 decades, we are just the Muslim Brotherhood. We are associated with Hamas, and we are not a civil rights organization. But I'm here to set it straight, that we are this country's most trusted civil rights organization for the Muslim community. We have continuously protected the Muslim community and Americans alike when it comes to protecting the civil rights of all Americans. And today we are protecting the right of Ms. Kathy. So on behalf of CAIR New Jersey and everybody here, I want to thank you for your commitment to this community, and I appreciate what you have done in raising awareness and ensuring that your kids become the best versions of themselves and continue to receive the education they deserve. Thank you.
Ma'am, before you get started, if I can, just, ma'am, at the end of the line, when I first announced earlier that we were going to take nobody else besides who was already standing up, the one in front of you with the green Palestine sweatshirt was the last person in line. So we are just going to take 2 more comments, and then we're going to end public comment tonight. I did announce this earlier that the line wasn't, we're going to have anybody else jump into the line, so if you... I understand, ma'am, and as with words... I understand, ma'am. We're just going to move ahead with the public comment as was announced during the meeting, okay? Thank you. Ma'am, we're going to move ahead with the... I've expressed the position of the board, unless the board wants to... Right, we combined the public comment as was announced at the start of the meeting, as is the board's right. The board does not, they have to have 2 public comments. It was amended, it was announced. We've been going for quite a while, over an hour now, on public comment. And this is how the meeting is being held today. Again, if you want to email the board, but it's been the case that we've held this line, we've now expended even the time that we allocated for public comment today, well over that time. I understand. Ma'am, again, if you could, we're only going to take the 2 more comments and then we're going to end public comment for tonight. So thank you. I understand, ma'am. Sorry, miss, for the delay.
Okay, my name is Heneen from Union. This is an important issue for all people of New Jersey. It's important to have respect and protect our freedom of speech. I'm from Gaza, and my children are from Gaza. I have 2 young babies at home that I took time away from so that I can come here because of how important this issue is. And watching my family be murdered throughout these very long, more than a year, hearing that they were bringing an IDF soldier who committed these heinous acts in Westfield, and seeing Kathy speak up against that on her personal account. She should not be penalized for that or investigated for that. She should actually be rewarded for speaking up for humanity. She's an educator who cares for her students and humanity itself. She has the right to her opinion, especially when she's speaking against a person who has committed vile acts against innocent people in Gaza. This is a justice to humanity. And I would really appreciate it if you guys would look at it as a human perspective. I don't condone the killing of any Jewish people, and I don't condone the killing of any Palestinian or Muslim people. And that's how it should be for everyone. We're all Americans at the end of the day, and it shouldn't matter where you're from, but at the end of the day, it's always, when it's a Palestinian issue, it becomes an act of anti-Semitism. Palestinians are Semites. We're from the same area. We are also Semites. And so if you're saying that we're anti-Semitic for that makes no sense. You have to look up what a Semite is in order to understand what anti-Semitism truly is. It's not only for the Jewish people, it's also for the Palestinian people. It's for that area. And so she wasn't being anti-Semitic, she was actually supporting the other Semites that are in that area. And so being anti-Zionist is not being anti-Semitic or anti-Jewish. Thank you. My name is Celestine and I am from Clark. Where there are protests, counter-protests are bound to follow. So standing up for against war crimes doesn't always equate to being anti any religion. When a child of Holocaust survivors stood up at that same meeting that was talked about, he was booed by the very own people from his same religion. He was made to look like he was a little person speaking about something so irrelevant. Yet, the people who say they understand what genocide is, they understand what murder and killing is, when a person from their own community speaks up, they could do nothing but boo him and silence him. What does that say about the intent of these peaceful meetings? Inviting a soldier who actively served in the military, whose leaders have arrest warrants on them for war crimes, just says the most. The outburst from the group on the left, as well as the red herring of the educator being anti-Semitic because she supported the preservation of Palestinian life, is a clear, indicated attempt to silence Palestinian narratives that has been a long, long effort in this country. However, that ends today. Other people were also censored. During World War II, people who spoke up against the Holocaust were censored. People in Germany and across Europe who spoke up against the killing of innocent Jewish people were also censored. Nothing is different today. Censorship at the expense of human life serves no one any good. Jewish and Muslim alike, all human life is important. Speaking up to protect the dignity of that very human life should never be a problem for you or anyone in this room or in this country. If this educator was in my district and had enough empathy and courage to speak up against an oppressed population despite the anger and the hate, I'd be proud. Thank you.
So that concludes our public comment section. We're going to pause for a 5-minute brief recess. For those who would like to stay, you can stay. If anyone would like to leave, you may leave as well.
I just wanted to listen. Oh, you should, yeah. Yeah, I know. Every day.
Okay, we're going to move on to Superintendent's report. Dr. Massey.
Thank you, Mr. Murray and birthday boy. You're here having a memorable birthday evening.
It's good to see everybody come out for my birthday tonight. I appreciate that. Everybody was happy with no cake, so everybody left. I get it. I get it.
So, you know, based on all of our residents and our community members of New Jersey who came out tonight, just to emphasize, it's our role as school administrators and board members to ensure we provide a safe, inclusive, nonpartisan classroom environment and learning experience for all of our students. There are several ways we work to ensure that's a goal we are achieving, including ongoing teacher training, feedback, and evaluation. Our school alma mater reminds us all to here belong. I'm grateful that so many of us care so passionately and want to help us to live up to the standards of all to here belong. But that also means all, not just those with whom I agree. A Board of Education can't solve a geopolitical conflict that has been ongoing for a very long time and complex. The board and I care deeply and always advocate for peace, safety, and empathy for all of our families and all of our students. Our primary concern is always the students of Scotch Plains and family. So, moving to the next important topic, I want to remind everyone that the upcoming referendum vote is Tuesday, January 28th from 2 to 8. The items included in the vote are significant to the future of the district and the continued success of our students. Please remember to vote next Tuesday. That's my report.
Thank you, Dr. Massey. Mr. Jones, Business Administrator report.
So we're working on the budget, of course. It's a very busy season for us and getting ready for referendum vote. And we keep costs as low as possible. So if there's any time we can renegotiate any agreements that we have or move things around to bring costs down, we will do that. On the agenda, I just want to mention one thing on the agenda tonight. We had our bid results come in for the Evergreen. So at Evergreen, you know, we've added classrooms there, but we need to replace, we put new windows in there, and it came in under our budget, which is great. And that project being paid by a state grant. And so we'll have an additional $150,000 that will reach out to the state, and we'll most likely put it towards a roof project for that space. So good news on that front. And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. All right, Board President announcement. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law is enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies of which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Scotch Plains Federal Board of Education has caused a notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted at the Board of Education offices located at 313 South Avenue in Fanwood, New Jersey. Such notice was also provided in written notice form to the Union County Hawk, Star Ledger, the Township Clerk of Scotch Plains, the Borough Clerk of Fanwood. The annual notice of regularly scheduled meetings as adopted April 25th, 2024, and revised August 27th, 2024. With that, I will pass it over to our Student board representatives for their reports.
Hi, I'm Grace. So now we're approaching the second semester. The third marking period is starting soon, this coming February. Okay. So now as we're approaching the second semester, with the third marking period coming this starting February, I'd like to talk about the Model UN conference that just recently happened. We had a 3-day conference at Hershey Lodge, where Model UN is basically where students engage in intense debates, resolution writing, and collaborating together to address world issues. Students interested in debate enjoyed engaging in discussion, and we won many awards as well. Premier Country was given to Liam Kendall and Lucy Panas. Outstanding Government Research Award was given to Emily Clark, and Premier First Year Delegate went to Leah Gianotto, and Premier Delegate went to Gabby Suriani. She was also elected and is now serving her position as official World Health Organization Committee Officer. Not only that, we did have the Italian exchange trip happen at our school. So a group of students from Italy visited SPF for the past 2-ish weeks. They traveled to New York, saw Scotch Plains downtown, and it's always a pleasure to see other students from different countries across the world and learn more about their cultures here as they visit the high school. So SPF students were very happy to greet these exchange students, and they're excited to go on the exchange to Italy later this year.
Going off of that, we had the Pops band concert last night at the high school, which is the winter concert for all of our bands, and it was a really great concert. Our DECA and FBLA clubs at the high school competed recently at their regionals, and we had around 50 students in each club advance to the state level competition, which happens this March in Atlantic City. This past January 11th was Super Sports Saturday, which is a newer event, but it's a really great event at bringing the community together, and we had our boys and girls varsity basketball teams play on Super Sports Saturday, as well as many clinics held by SPF teams. And lastly, I asked my sister, who's a second grader at Coles, what her favorite thing of the past week was, and she said the Snowflake Social that took place at Coles on Tuesday night was her favorite part of the week, so I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you both for your updates. All right, we will now move to instructional updates and recognitions. I believe we have the PTA president here.
Thanks, Mac, for sharing that Super Sports Saturday and for the Coles Snowflake Social. I know they're very excited about that. But I am here. Good evening, everyone. My name is Suzanne Yorkland. This is much easier. And I'm the president of the Scotch Plains Faywood PTA Council, and I serve as the primary liaison between our school's PTA and the administrative offices. January is the annual School Board Recognition Month in New Jersey. It's a time to raise public awareness of the roles and responsibilities of local boards of education. New Jersey's local boards of education play an essential role in students' lives. Board members oversee 580 school districts, which in turn operate 2,500 public schools and provide educational services to nearly 1.4 million children. They set the policies for schools and make important decisions affecting curriculum, financing, and staffing. In 2010, the SPF PTA Council initiated the tradition of honoring our Board of Education for their countless hours of dedication to serving our community and contributing significantly to our children's education. Here in SPF, we're fortunate to have a board that acts as advocates for our students, collaborating with parents, teachers, and school administrators for the betterment of public education. They strive to provide resources for all students, making a positive impact, and for that we are truly grateful. Furthermore, over the past 5 years, serving on the council, I've had the privilege of getting to know the board members, not just on a professional level, but on a personal level. I've come to truly appreciate their dedication and hard work, especially as fellow volunteers. Like them, I understand the commitment it takes to give time to the community. Their efforts aren't always easy, but their willingness to contribute is commendable. On behalf of the PTA Council and Scotch Plains family PTAs, we extend our thanks, and I'm going to present you all, I'll give it to Robin, I have a small token of appreciation. Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Sue, and the PTA, and thank you very much. Perfect timing. Okay, moving on to additional reports, letters to the board. So prior to the agenda being set, we had received 23 emails from the public, and they were sent to the appropriate administrator. I would imagine post the agenda being set, we have a lot more. We will move to committee reports. Committee reports.
The Curriculum Committee met on January 14th. The first agenda item discussed was CUSAC. CUSAC is an audit of the district, and it's under review by the Department of Education, and they're amending how points are awarded beginning this July. CUSAC occurs every 3 years? Every 3 years. Okay. All right, the second agenda item discussed was a policy review. I know Ms. Winkler is going to give a policy report, but one policy that came to the attention of the Curriculum Committee is the need for a policy on the acceptable use of AI in the district. You know, we've been considering such a policy for a little while, and a policy will be developed, and will obviously be a brand new policy, and you know, we really have to adopt one. So there are some samples, some templates, and we have to really figure out what would work for our district, using those as a starting off point. And a committee will be formed within the district to develop such a policy. Okay. Another agenda item discussed was the upcoming middle school, high school parent workshop on building healthy digital habits. This is going to occur on February 6th. I think a letter did go out from Dr. Dumaresque and Dr. Hines about this workshop, and it's in conjunction with the PTA. And, okay, a couple more agenda items. The district occasionally is part of research proposals, and we've reported out on those before. So a research proposal from a doctoral student at Rutgers has come about, and this is about civics education in New Jersey school districts, a case study. So our district is going to be featured in this research study, exploring how administrators support civics education and how teachers enact civics education in 7th grade, so here at Terrell. And the last agenda item was about climate literacy for community resilience. And there's a possibility of the district applying for a grant through the Department of Education for teaching climate change. That would be up to $30,000, and 2nd and 5th graders would engage in work that would help make pollinator gardens and help them understand climate change. And those were the agenda items discussed, and the next meeting is on February 11th.
Thank you, Ms. Ariani. Any questions for Ms. Ariani? Any other committee reports? Okay, seeing none, we will move to enrollment report. So we received the enrollment report in our board packet. Superintendent items, curriculum and personnel. I guess we'll block it all together.
So there are no out-of-district placements this time. We are going to approve the 9 hit cases discussed in the December 19th exec session, 3 of which were found to be hit. We have 2 field trip requests, the memorandum of agreement, the University of Delaware memorandum of agreement, which is actually a very exciting progress. I'd like to thank Dr. McGarry for his work on that because it's really helping us towards our strategic planning goals. And 6, there is an equivalency application that also has to do, I believe, with the CUSAP application. 7, we're adopting the 12-month employee calendar, and that's it. And I'll keep going to personnel, that we approve the personnel agenda that we discussed in exec this evening.
Do we have a motion? Ms. Winkler, do we have a second? Ms. Williams, second. Any comments or questions? Mr. Jones, can you please call the roll?
Ms. Borough?
Yes.
Ms. Brody?
Yes.
Dr. Kolakowski?
Yes.
Ms. Sirianni?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Winkler?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes. Motion carries. All right, business items. Mr. Jones.
Number 1, staff training. Number 2, related services for special education students. Number 3 is the evergreen windows that I mentioned in the opening. Number 4 is sale of outdated equipment. 5 is a special education settlement agreement we discussed in exec. Number 6 is fire drills, 7 financial reports, 8 disbursement listings, and 9 is our payment of bills.
Do we have a motion to approve the business functions?
Second.
Any comments or questions for Mr. Jones? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Winkler, board policies.
So the policy committee met on January 8th. Policy committee met on January 8th. We discussed a number of policies. The first bunch that I'll mention were all revisions based on changes to the Uniform State Memorandum of Agreement between education and law enforcement officials. Policy 5512, harassment, intimidation, and bullying, was revised to include parental notification requirements and procedural guidance. And when a district must pause a HIB investigation to allow law enforcement to conclude their investigation. These changes are based on the MOA and are mandated. Policy 5533 and the corresponding regulation for student smoking have been revised to include the requirement that school districts report the use or seizure of an electronic smoking device to law enforcement when school officials have reasonable suspicion that the device contains a controlled dangerous substance or cannabis. These changes, based on changes to the MOA, are also mandated. Policy 7441 and I should say regulation 7441 on electronic surveillance in school buildings and on school grounds. Policy and regulation were revised to indicate that the district will enter a memorandum of understanding with local law enforcement, providing them access to activate our video surveillance equipment and view live streaming video during an emergency situation. These changes are based on changes to the MOA and are also mandated. Policy 9320 and its corresponding regulation, cooperation with law enforcement agencies, have been revised to include handle with care protocols that designate the principal of each school as the point of contact for receiving this information from law enforcement. The handle with care program requires law enforcement to notify the district when a student witnesses something traumatic outside of the school environment. Regulation 9230 was also revised to include the wording "or other drugs," since cannabis is no longer considered a controlled dangerous substance, but it is still illegal for minors.
The handle with care revisions based on changes to the MOA are mandated, and the or other drugs revision is recommended. So all of those were based on the memorandum of understanding with law enforcement. The rest of these policies are more along the lines of our regular policy revisions. Policy 5111, eligibility of resident/non-resident students, was updated to reflect revisions to the state statutes. The policy was updated to reflect our existing practice of not allowing non-resident students to enroll in our schools, and these changes are mandated. Policy 5460, high school graduation, was updated in accordance with public law to include the new graduation requirement for classes of 2025, 2026, and 2027 to complete and submit financial aid application to receive a diploma. The revisions also include that students may be exempt from this requirement by submitting a waiver form to the district. This policy was also updated to remove mention of the class requirements for 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, and 22, and these changes are mandated. Policy 5516 and its corresponding regulation on use of electronic devices. The existing policy prohibits a student or school staff member from being video or audio recording or audio or video recording others without the consent of the student's parent or the school staff member. Revisions to the policy and the new regulation include wording limiting or prohibiting the use of electronic communication devices, including but not limited to cell phones, earbuds, smartwatches, etc. during the school day. References to pagers have been removed, and these revisions are recommended. Policy 5710, student grievance, has been revised to give more details regarding the student grievance process, and these are also recommended changes. Policy 9163, spectator code of conduct for interscholastic events, is this policy. This is a new policy to address a new requirement that's come down to us from the New Jersey State Interscholastic Athletics Association. It's indicated that member schools must adopt a policy that requires immediate removal of a person from the event and school premises for violating the policy. Minimum disciplinary measures, including suspension of person from attending future interscholastic events for violating the policy, a required educational component for violators, parent acknowledgement of receipt of a copy of the policy, and code of conduct provisions of the policy to be posted at all venues hosting competition to the extent possible. The required policy shall also include an appeal process. NJSIA is also requiring a district's policy to include increased disciplinary actions for multiple violations in a defined period of time. And as a district member of NJSIA, these changes are mandated. Then there were 3 other policies that we started reviewing that you'll hear more about. You heard a little bit in Stephanie's report from curriculum. Policy 2365, acceptable use of generative artificial intelligence. One of them is policy 5701 on academic integrity. This policy was previously entitled plagiarism. And policy 8500 on food services. These are 3 policies that we're still working out the details with administration and other parties. And at this time, I would like to move that we approve for first reading policy and regulation changes noted above.
Thank you, Ms. Winkler. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions on any of the policies for the first read? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Board minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the December 19, 2024 regular public board meeting minutes as well as the January 7, 2025 reorganization meeting minutes?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Amy and Amy, thank you. Any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. New board business. Liaison reports.
I just, just a quick note from regarding CPAD, the Special Education Parent Advisory Group. Their next meeting is next week, January 27th. at the high school at 7 p.m. and it's actually an opportunity to visit the new life skills room, which I personally am very excited to see. And that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Barth. Any other liaison reports? Okay. Board resolution, motion for resolutions. Do we have a motion to adopt the Black History Month resolution?
So moved.
Ms. Winkler, do we have a second?
Second.
We have Ms. Williams, and we'll give it to Ms. Williams because I heard you first. So, any comments or questions? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Does anyone want to read? No. Okay. The second is the January being School Board Recognition Month. Do we have a motion to adopt the resolution for Ms. Williams? Do we have a second?
Second.
Barth, thank you. Any comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. We have those two. We shall move on to upcoming scheduled meetings. We have February 20th rather is the next public meeting in the Media Center. March 13th is the next meeting after that. And we will move to the good of the order. Does anyone have anything they'd like to speak about on the good of the order? Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. I just want to acknowledge that this past Monday was Martin Luther King Day. So in Scotch Plains and Fanwood was the Martin Luther King Day of Service. And I want to acknowledge our high school choir who came and sang so beautifully on a day that was a day off from school. They gave their time and it was just an inspiring performance, and I want to thank Mr. Millett, our fine arts supervisor, who stepped in at the last minute to conduct the choir, and especially because the weather was so bad. So I thank all of them for coming out and giving a passionate performance. Yes, that's right. And the BSU also, 5 students from the BSU got up and spoke individually on Dr. Martin Luther King's writings and what they meant to them. So I want to thank them as well, and April Chestang, their advisor, who came as well. It was just a wonderful event.
Thank you, sir. Any other?
I just wanted to congratulate the PTA again for a very successful Super Sports Saturday that I had the opportunity to visit and just see the excitement. Wish everyone, I think this is the first year that we have off for Happy Lunar New Year next week. Is that correct? So I want to wish everyone Happy Lunar New Year and Happy birthday, Heather.
Anyone else for the good of the order?
Last night, I was at the Pops concert with Dr. McGarry. It was really excellent. Congratulations to all involved in that.
Thank you, Dr. Mast. For those who didn't know, I want to thank the entire board for singing happy birthday to me in executive session, so there's that. For those who haven't heard Dr. McGarry sing, we'll try to get him to sing something at a board meeting sometime soon. And then I just want to thank the community as well as both townships. Obviously, as you know, we have the upcoming referendum next week, which we're hopeful that we've taken the feedback from the first referendum. We're hopeful that the community is supportive of it. Both townships have been extremely supportive and have worked collaboratively with the district in this last round, and the community has been really supportive. Hopefully everybody got the questions that they need answered. Hopefully we can move forward and really have a really nice place for our students to grow and continue to prosper within the district by allowing the additional space. So I just want to thank everybody for that. And I know Ms. Barb is not here, so I'll do the traditional, please be careful at drop-off. It's really dangerous out there. And then anybody else have anything else for the good of the order before we make a motion to adjourn? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
That would be everybody. Do we have a second? We have a second for Ms. Williams. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.